What is emotional abuse? But more importantly, could you be going through this in your romantic relationship? This video is going to take you through the 5 warning signs of emotional abuse. Hi everyone, I'm Victoria. I'm based in the UK. I'm a qualified therapist. I specialise in emotional abuse and trauma. I do videos about all things therapy. I hope you find it useful, so let's get into it. We hear quite a lot about emotional and psychological abuse these days. There's a lot about it in the media and like in films and TV. Even so, there still seems to be some confusion around what emotional abuse actually is, and many people don't recognise when they're actually in an abusive relationship. In my therapy practice especially, sometimes I'm really shocked as I have clients that are incredibly intelligent, incredibly successful, but they don't recognise the warning signs of what's going on in their relationship. So let's take a look at what emotional abuse actually is. The first sign of an abusive relationship would be criticism. First off, it's important to note that there is a difference between criticism and complaints. Within romantic relationships, it's very normal at times to hear complaints from your partner. And an example of a complaint would be, we don't spend enough time together, you never take the bins out, you don't help me around the house. The difference between complaints and criticism is that complaints tend to be about specific issues, whereas criticism tends to be quite a personal attack on someone's character. Now, when criticism feels unfair or unjustified and it takes place frequently, emotional abuse may be taking place here. Quite often, the criticism starts gradually. It may be subtle comments about your appearance, that's very common, like, why are you wearing that? Or, oh, you've put a lot of weight on. And in other cases of emotional abuse, it may be that the criticism isn't about your appearance, but it could focus on your job or your education. Criticism within a relationship can also take the form of comparisons to other people, usually ex-partners. So it could be, oh, why don't you dress like so-and-so? Or I wish you were as funny as my ex-girlfriend. And of course, after experiencing this level of criticism, you're usually left feeling that nothing you do is ever right. You doubt yourself, and basically your self-esteem is at rock bottom. The second sign of emotional abuse is control. Controlling behaviour is very, very common in abusive relationships. Similarly to criticism, the control may start gradually. It may be that your partner doesn't want you spending time with friends or with family, and they may punish you if you do. For example, they may decide to ignore you or give you the silent treatment or berate you if you defy their wishes, if you go out and socialise with friends. In many cases, people actually stop spending time with people outside of their relationship because they avoid the repercussions of this. Alternatively, the control could be a bit more obvious. So, for example, they could tell you you're not allowed to spend time with this person. And of course, we now live in the world of social media, so control within social media is becoming very prevalent in abusive relationships. So, for example, your partner could insist that they know your password, or they could actually watch what you're doing constantly online, so there's no boundaries, so you don't have any privacy. And of course, this would result in you feeling like you've got no freedom. Another warning sign of emotional abuse would be punishments. In some emotionally abusive relationships, your partner might actually punish you for not doing what he or she wants. So the punishment may be silent treatment, as I mentioned before, or withholding affection. So here you would get treated very coldly. They wouldn't show you any type of kindness or any affection. This could be physical or emotional affection. Another punishment would be they get rid of sentimental belongings, or basically they destroy something that means a lot to you. This behaviour would leave you feeling confused, and you'd question where you went wrong, and you'd start to question where you stand in the relationship. Another sign of abuse would be blaming. Blame is a very common tactic in an emotionally abusive relationship. Quite often, the abuser will hold you responsible for something that has gone wrong, even if it is in no way your fault. For example, it could be that the abuser became angry and broke or damaged something, it could be, you know, the phone, television, or your laptop, and they respond by telling you that you are to blame, quite often they'll say something like, look what you made me do. You may also be blamed for the state of the abuser's life. If I wasn't with you, I could be in a better job, a better relationship, I'd have a better home. Essentially, you're to blame for everything. And finally, invalidating. So it could be, oh, what are you complaining about? You need to get over it. And quite often there's a sense of one-upmanship, so that's nothing compared to what I've been through. This would usually result in you minimising yourself, and you end up giving up about talking about yourself, your day, what you've gone through, because you know there's not going to be any space or time for it, so you lose the drive and the energy. Essentially, you make yourself smaller and you lose a sense of who you are. If you're currently in a relationship like this, a professional can help you to leave. It can be done. Just please remember that freedom and recovery from an abusive relationship is very, very possible, and you deserve to be happy. I hope that was helpful. The next video is going to look into ways in which you can recover from emotional abuse. I'll see you very soon.